Did you know that we have channel memberships now? If you'd like to help support this channel, get some exclusive Kawabana emotes to use in the comments, as well as an exclusive badge by your name, click that join button now to find out more. Every bit of support really helps. Thanks guys. Back in episode 35 of Kawabana, we featured a story called Well in the Basement. I'll leave a link in the comments if you'd like to go back and listen to that before this week's episode. But in short, the story was posted in 2008, and it's about a man who takes on a dangerous job for some shady men to transport something underground. That something naturally turns out to be a body, and he's tasked with heading to Imperial Army Tunnel 13 to dump that body in an underground well with 2 other men. The door to that well has Imperial Army Well 126, or potentially 128, written on it, and inside the well, they discover 2 strange creatures crawling around the bottom. They look human, but have entirely smooth faces and only small holes where their noses should be. This freaks the men out, and they run. It turns out that the body they dumped was the son of an organized crime boss, and now the author is on the run, typing his story from an internet cafe in an undisclosed location. This particular story became quite popular when it was posted, and naturally, people wanted to know more about this Imperial Army Tunnel 13, and what on earth was lurking in the well behind door 126. Was the tunnel real? Could something otherworldly really be lurking beneath the streets of Tokyo? Were the Yakuza disposing of bodies for literal monsters to eat? Let's take a look. First of all, if you type Imperial Army Tunnel 13 into Google, in Japanese of course, then you'll surprisingly get a hit. You can apparently find it clear as day in Chiyoda City, Tokyo. There are even 2 uploaded photos. First takes you to above ground street view of some steel fences, behind which is a parking lot. The second photo takes you to a creepy stone tunnel that eventually leads to another steel grate door at the end. Was this actually it? Was Imperial Army Tunnel 13 an open secret? Well, not really. You may have seen this particular tunnel image before. It's not even in Japan. The picture is actually a tunnel from, excuse my pronunciation, Fort de Mutzig in France. You can find it on Wikipedia, amongst many other places online. Users are able to upload their own locations of interest and pictures to Google Maps, so it would appear that someone added Imperial Army Tunnel 13 as a prank. It's certainly not the first location of its type to show up randomly on Google Maps. Kisaragi Station often pops up all over the country until someone finally removes it, so this alone isn't really much to go off. But let's suppose that the tunnel does still exist, just not where Google Maps claims. As you may be aware, the space beneath Tokyo is absolutely full of tunnels. Many of these were built during the Second World War, and what's available to the public is only a small section of what's there. There have been entire books written on what tunnels may or may not exist beneath Tokyo at this point, so it's not crazy to assume that, yes, there are some tunnels down there that the public doesn't know about. But does that mean that at least one of them has a mysterious well full of monsters? Over the years, people have pointed out the similarities of this story to numerous other books and movies. There's a book by Akiba Shun, published in 2006, that talks about the supposed hidden secret tunnels beneath Tokyo. Others have pointed out the creatures in the well sound somewhat like those in the movie Descent, which came out in 2005, or even Clive Barker's Midnight Meat Train. The story was also posted on the occult forums of Ni Channel, so naturally, many suspect its legitimacy. It makes for a fantastic story, sure, but is there any truth to it? Well, probably not. The author further ups the stakes by revealing that the body they've been tasked with dumping underground is the son of a Yakuza chairman. No names are ever given, so it's impossible to check one way or the other whether someone really matching this description ever went missing. But by making the entire story revolve around Yakuza and their shady dealings, that immediately makes it harder for people to investigate, to see whether it's real or not. No doubt done on purpose. And it's also a good excuse to have a reason to go down into this creepy tunnel that isn't supposed to exist. As for the creatures in the well, there has been a lot of speculation over what they could be. The Imperial Army took part in numerous experiments during the Second World War, so maybe they were remnants of that. Maybe the creatures were something the Yakuza found and decided that that well would be a perfect location for getting rid of troublesome people. Maybe the creatures were actually kami-sama, and the bodies weren't being dumped there, as such, but were actually offerings to keep them happy. Perhaps they were yokai, or just plain and simple monsters. The most likely answer is that the creatures were inspired by numerous things. Pale creatures living deep underground with strange or even no facial features aren't exactly new. They're creepy and they seem like something that could exist in areas barren of light, which is why we see them pop up in media so often. How they got in a well hidden in a tunnel supposedly built by the Imperial Army suggests that they're perhaps leftover experiments from the war, but it's never outright stated, so speculation remains rife. At the end of the day, this story was just that, a story. It's told extremely well, and it features a lot of subject matter that people find interesting, which is why people still talk about it to this day. It also takes common and well-known urban legends to build a story that could possibly be true. If you remove the monster element entirely, then sure, it's not impossible to believe that there's a particular tunnel underneath Tokyo that the public isn't aware of, but maybe certain other groups are. Perhaps there's even a well in there that you could use to hide bodies in. The monsters? Well, they make the story far more interesting than just a simple old well. Few people would still be talking about the story today if that were the case. But what do you guys think about this one? Could it potentially be true? What could these supposed creatures have actually been? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.